Did you know there was a time when getting a good night's sleep in New York literally depended on someone tapping on your window with a long stick? Or that operating a telephone used to involve a dizzying dance of plugs and sockets performed by an actual human? We live in an age of constant innovation, where yesterday's cutting edge is today's antique. But what about the jobs that simply vanished? The careers that once defined livelihoods and built communities, now consigned to the dusty archives of history. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating, sometimes bizarre, and often charming world of 25 jobs that the modern era simply left behind. Get ready for a nostalgic trip down memory lane, because you might just be surprised by how many of these vital roles have faded into oblivion. Bowling Pinsetter. Before the satisfying thud and whir of automated pin-setting machines became the norm, the world of bowling relied on the nimble fingers and quick reflexes of young men, often teenagers, known as pinsetters. Imagine a smoky bowling alley, the crash of pins, and then, from behind the lane, a figure springs into action. These aren't just kids stacking pins. They're an integral part of the game, manually resetting the pins after each frame, clearing fallen ones, and even returning the bowling balls. It was a physically demanding job, often noisy and sometimes dangerous, but it was also a rite of passage for many, a first taste of earning a wage. The advent of mechanical pin setters in the mid-20th century, starting with the AMF automatic pin spotter, gradually phased out this human element, transforming the bowling experience forever. The charm of the human pin setter, the quick reset, the occasional mischievous prank, became a casualty of efficiency and automation, leaving behind a unique piece of bowling's rich history. Switchboard Operator. Before the ubiquitous dial tone and direct dialing, connecting a phone call was a surprisingly human affair, orchestrated by the diligent switchboard operator. Picture a vast room, often bustling with women, seated at enormous boards covered in an intricate web of jacks and cords. A light would flash, indicating an incoming call, and the operator would skillfully plug in, ask for the desired number, and then manually connect the two parties using another cord. This wasn't just about routing calls. These operators were the internet of their day, often providing information, relaying messages, and even acting as local gossips. They held immense power, connecting families, businesses, and even emergency services. The job required incredible focus, memory, and patience. However, as technology advanced, particularly with the introduction of automated switching systems and eventually digital exchanges, the need for human intervention dwindled. The iconic image of the switchboard operator, a true linchpin of early communication, slowly but surely faded, replaced by the silent efficiency of machines. Milkman. There was a time, not so long ago, when the gentle clinking of glass bottles on a doorstep was the morning soundtrack for millions. The milkman, a quintessential figure of neighborhood life, delivered fresh milk directly to homes, often before the sun had even properly risen. This wasn't just about convenience, it was a cornerstone of daily routine and a symbol of freshness. Glass bottles, collected and reused, were the eco-friendly standard long before the term was even coined. The milkman knew his route, knew his customers, and was often a familiar, trusted face in the community. Children would leave notes for extra cream, and families relied on his dependable deliveries. But the rise of supermarkets, the advent of refrigerated grocery aisles, and the shift to plastic and cardboard packaging gradually eroded the milkman's domain. The convenience of one-stop shopping at any hour proved too strong a force, and while a few niche services still exist, the widespread daily milk delivery, a nostalgic symbol of a bygone era, has largely evaporated. Linotype Operator. Before the glowing screens of computers and the instant gratification of digital publishing, the printed word was painstakingly crafted by skilled artisans, none more crucial than the Linotype Operator. Imagine a massive, intricate machine that looked more like a steampunk organ than a printing press. The operator, a highly trained individual, would sit at a keyboard typing out text. Each keystroke didn't just display a letter, it cast an entire line of text, a slug of molten lead, ready to be assembled into a page. This was a sophisticated blend of craftsmanship and early automation, revolutionizing newspaper and book production. It required precision, speed, and an intimate understanding of typography. The hot metal process was noisy, dirty, and dangerous, but it was the backbone of mass communication for nearly a century. The advent of phototypesetting in the mid-20th century, followed by computer-based desktop publishing, rendered the linotype machine and the skilled operators who ran them obsolete. A magnificent machine, a crucial job, now a powerful symbol of printing history. Elevator operator. Step into a grand old hotel or a classic department store from the early 20th century, and you wouldn't just find a button to push. You'd be greeted by an impeccably uniformed elevator operator. This wasn't just about getting from one floor to another. It was an experience, often marked by polite conversation, floor announcements, and the smooth, controlled ascent and descent guided by a trained professional. Early elevators were complex machines, requiring a steady hand and precise timing to smoothly align the cab with each floor, avoiding jarring stops or dangerous misalignments. The operator was responsible for the safety of the passengers, the mechanics of the hoist, and often the general ambiance of the ride. They were an extension of the building's hospitality. As elevator technology advanced, becoming automated and incorporating sophisticated safety mechanisms, the need for a human conductor diminished. The simple push button became the norm, and the charming, personalized service of the elevator operator became a nostalgic memory, a silent ascent in an otherwise bustling world. Knocker-upper. Before the pervasive blare of alarm clocks and the gentle buzz of smartphone alarms, getting out of bed on time, especially for early morning shifts, often required a unique profession, the knocker-upper. This wasn't a job for the faint of heart, or for those who valued their sleep. Imagine someone walking through the pre-dawn streets, armed with a long stick or a rattle, specifically tasked with waking up their clients by tapping on windows or rattling doors. In the bustling industrial towns of Britain and Ireland, where factory shifts started at ungodly hours, the knocker-upper was an essential service for labourers who couldn't afford alarm clocks or simply couldn't trust themselves to wake up. They knew their rounds, ensuring no one overslept and missed their livelihood. It was a person-to-person service, relying on reliability and a strong arm. The mass production of affordable alarm clocks, coupled with the increasing availability of electricity and personal devices, slowly but surely rendered the knocker-upper obsolete. Their echoes, however, remain in the charming history of industrial life. Lamplighter. As dusk descended upon cities and towns before widespread electrical grids, a particular figure would emerge, walking the streets with purpose, the lamplighter. With a long pole, often tipped with a flame, they would systematically go from street lamp to street lamp, igniting the gas or oil burners, bringing light to the gathering darkness. This wasn't just a job, it was a nightly ritual, a transformation of the urban landscape from shadowy obscurity to a warm, inviting glow. The lamplighter was a familiar sight, a silent guardian against the encroaching night, often working long hours in all weather conditions. They were responsible not only for lighting the lamps, but also for maintaining them, ensuring they burned brightly and efficiently. It was a vital public service, crucial for safety, commerce, and social life after sunset. The widespread adoption of electric street lighting in the late 19th and early 20th centuries spelled the end for this poetic profession. The lamplighter, a romantic figure of urban history, was ultimately outshone by the sheer power and efficiency of electricity. VCR, Video Store Clerk. For those of us who remember the thrilling anticipation of a Friday night, strolling the aisles of Blockbuster or your local video store, the VCR, Video Store Clerk, was the gatekeeper to cinematic adventure. This wasn't just a minimum wage job, it was a role filled with critical knowledge and often a surprising amount of power. They were the arbiters of new releases, the navigators of genres, and the enforcers of late fees. Clerks often possessed encyclopedic knowledge of films, guiding customers through the bewildering array of VHS tapes and later DVDs. They handled rentals, rewinds, remember those, and often dealt with disgruntled customers who discovered their chosen movie was out. The ritual of going to the video store, browsing the covers, and getting a recommendation from a clerk was a significant part of popular culture. The meteoric rise of streaming services, digital downloads, and on-demand content utterly decimated the video rental industry. The once bustling video store and the knowledgeable clerk within are now relics of a charmingly analog past. Human computer. Before the silicon chip and the blinking lights of electronic computers, complex calculations, from astronomical tables to ballistic trajectories, were performed by human computers. These were often highly skilled individuals, typically women, who would meticulously carry out mathematical operations by hand, using slide rules, mechanical calculators, and sheer mental prowess. Imagine rooms filled with people, diligently crunching numbers for hours on end, contributing to groundbreaking scientific and engineering projects. Their work was vital for everything from sending rockets into space to designing bridges. It required incredible accuracy, concentration, and a deep understanding of mathematical principles. Despite the tedium, these human computers laid the groundwork for many scientific advancements. The development of electronic digital computers in the mid-20th century, capable of performing calculations at unimaginable speeds, gradually rendered this profession obsolete. The human computer, once an indispensable cog in the machinery of science, evolved from a job title into the very technology that replaced them. Typist. In the golden age of typewriters, before the click-clack of a keyboard became a silent tap and autocorrect became our digital crutch, the typist was an indispensable fixture in every office. Imagine the rhythmic clang of keys, the satisfying thwack of the carriage return, and the crisp, official look of a perfectly typed document. Typists were masters of accuracy and speed, transforming handwritten notes, dictations, and drafts into clean, professional letters reports, and manuscripts. They possessed incredible dexterity and often an acute ear for spoken word. Their skills were the backbone of business communication, ensuring clarity and professionalism in an era dominated by paper. The advent of personal computers and word processing software in the late 20th century democratized typing, making it a skill accessible to almost everyone. The dedicated professional typist, whose sole job was to translate thoughts into perfectly formatted text, slowly faded from the office landscape. Their legacy, however, lives on in the QWERTY keyboard we all still use today. Film projectionist. There's a magical hush that falls over a darkened cinema just before the feature begins, a moment often preceded by the whir and clatter from the projection booth. The film projectionist was the unseen magician, responsible for bringing stories to life on the silver screen. This wasn't just about pressing play, it was a highly skilled craft involving the meticulous loading of heavy film reels, careful threading through complex projectors, maintaining focus, adjusting sound levels, and often seamlessly transitioning between reels without the audience even noticing a flicker. They were the custodians of the cinematic experience, ensuring everything from picture quality to sound fidelity was perfect. The warm glow of the projector lamp, the gentle whirring, and the distinct smell of film stock were all part of their world. The rise of digital cinema, with its simpler operation and lack of physical film, gradually rendered the traditional film projectionist obsolete. The art and craft of projecting film, a true labour of love, became another casualty of digital progress, leaving behind a nostalgic echo in the quiet darkness of the booth. Travel agent. Before the internet put the world at our fingertips and made booking a flight as simple as a few clicks, the travel agent was the undisputed architect of our adventures. Imagine walking into a vibrant office filled with brochures of exotic locales, maps, and the reassuring presence of someone who could magically piece together your dream vacation. Travel agents weren't just booking flights and hotels. They were master planners, finding the best deals, navigating complex international itineraries, securing visas, and offering invaluable local insights. They saved us from endless phone calls and confusing logistics, providing a personalized service that was both comforting and efficient. Their knowledge was encyclopedic, their connections vast. The explosion of online travel agencies and direct booking platforms, offering instant comparisons and DIY planning, dramatically reshaped the industry. While specialized travel advisors still exist, the ubiquitous high street travel agent, a bastion of vacation planning for decades, largely became a nostalgic memory, replaced by the convenience and occasional frustration of self-service. Gas station attendant. For those of us old enough to remember, pulling into a gas station used to be a far more hands-off experience. The full-service gas station attendant would greet you, pump your gas, check your oil, clean your windshield, and often exchange a friendly word or two. It was a personalized interaction, a brief moment of human connection during a mundane chore. This wasn't just about convenience. It was a service that embodied a certain era of customer care and often provided crucial checks for your vehicle. They knew the pumps, they knew the cars, and they were always ready to assist. The widespread adoption of self-service pumps, driven by efficiency and cost savings, gradually phased out the full-service attendant. While some regions still maintain full-service laws, the once common sight of someone else filling your tank became increasingly rare. The cheerful "filler up" and the sparkling clean windshield became nostalgic reminders of a time when pumping gas was a service, not just a transaction. Toll booth collector. The satisfying clink of coins, the brief exchange of pleasantries, and the lift of the barrier, that was the familiar ritual of passing through a toll booth orchestrated by the diligent toll collector. These individuals were the human gatekeepers of our highways and bridges, collecting fees, providing directions, and often acting as the first point of contact for travelers. It was a job that required quick hands, a friendly demeanor, and the ability to handle various forms of payment and traffic flows. They were an integral part of the infrastructure, ensuring the smooth movement of vehicles and the funding of roadways. The rise of electronic toll collection systems, like Easy Pass or automatic license plate readers, brought about a revolution in traffic management. These systems offer unparalleled efficiency, reducing congestion and eliminating the need for human interaction. The toll booth collector, once a constant presence on our major arteries, has largely been replaced by automated technology, a silent scanner taking their place in the march of progress. Newspaper boy, girl. The image of a newspaper boy or girl cycling through suburban streets with a heavy bag slung over their shoulder, tossing perfectly folded papers onto doorsteps, is an iconic emblem of childhood enterprise and community news delivery. This wasn't just a part-time job, it was often a primary method for disseminating local and national news, a daily ritual that connected homes to the world. These young entrepreneurs learned responsibility, time management, and the value of hard work, often braving all weather conditions to ensure the news arrived on time. The crisp rustle of the morning paper, delivered by a familiar face, was a significant part of daily life. The digital revolution, with its instant news updates via smartphones and websites, fundamentally reshaped the newspaper industry. As print subscriptions dwindled and online consumption soared, the need for widespread physical delivery by young people diminished significantly. The newspaper, boy or girl, a charming symbol of a bygone era, now exists mostly in nostalgic artwork and the occasional historical film. Ice cutter or Iceman. Long before the hum of refrigerators and the convenience of automatic ice makers, keeping food cold was a laborious and often dangerous endeavor, reliant on the work of ice cutters and icemen. In colder climates, ice cutters would venture onto frozen lakes and rivers, using massive saws and tools to cut huge blocks of ice, often weighing hundreds of pounds. This was incredibly hard, cold, and perilous work, requiring immense strength and coordination. These blocks would then be stored in ice houses, insulated with sawdust, to last through warmer months. The iceman would then deliver these blocks by horse-drawn cart or truck to homes and businesses, where they would be placed in ice boxes to keep food fresh. The sound of the iceman's wagon and the sight of him hoisting a block of ice with tongs were common occurrences. The invention and widespread adoption of electric refrigerators in the mid-20th century rendered this entire industry obsolete. The ice cutter and iceman, once vital figures, melted away into the annals of history. Assembly line worker. For a significant portion of the 20th century, the assembly line worker was the backbone of industrial production, a testament to human efficiency and repetitive labor. Imagine vast factories, the rhythmic clang and whir of machinery, and rows upon rows of workers performing specific, often simple tasks in a continuous flow, building everything from automobiles to toasters. This division of labor, pioneered by Henry Ford, revolutionized manufacturing, making products cheaper and more accessible. While demanding and often monotonous, these jobs provided steady employment for millions and fueled economic growth. However, the relentless march of automation and robotics has profoundly reshaped this landscape. Robots can now perform many repetitive tasks with greater precision, speed, and endurance, often without breaks or complaints. While human oversight and specialized roles remain, the sheer number of manual assembly line positions has drastically diminished in many sectors, replaced by sophisticated machinery. The traditional assembly line worker, once an iconic figure of industrial might, has largely evolved into a different kind of role. Door-to-door salesperson. Before the internet offered a boundless marketplace and targeted advertising filled our screens, the door-to-door salesperson was a direct conduit between products and consumers. Imagine a knock on your door, and there stands an eager individual, briefcase in hand, ready to demonstrate everything from vacuum cleaners to encyclopedias. This was a challenging profession, requiring immense resilience, persuasive skills, and the ability to handle rejection. Salespeople often relied on charm, persistence, and a personal connection to make a sale, bringing goods and services directly into people's homes. It was a cornerstone of consumer culture for decades, particularly in post-war America. The rise of retail chains, mail-order catalogs, infomercials, and ultimately e-commerce gradually eroded the need for this direct in-home sales approach. While some niche direct sales still exist, the pervasive presence of the general door-to-door salesperson, once a ubiquitous figure, has largely vanished, leaving behind a legacy of salesmanship and, occasionally, well-loved household gadgets. Phrenologist. Venture back to the 19th century, and you might have encountered a phrenologist, a practitioner of a now debunked pseudoscience that claimed to determine a person's character, intelligence, and even criminal tendencies by examining the bumps and contours of their skull. Imagine a learned individual carefully feeling your cranium, interpreting each ridge and depression as an indicator of your personality traits. Phrenology was incredibly popular for a time, seen as a legitimate scientific endeavor, influencing everything from education to judicial systems. People genuinely believed that their destinies and dispositions were literally etched into their skulls. This wasn't just a quirky sideline, it was a profession, with practitioners offering detailed readings and analyses. The lack of empirical evidence and the rise of genuine neurological understanding ultimately discredited phrenology. While the fascination with understanding the human mind persists, the phrenologist, a once respected expert in cranial cartography, has been relegated to the curious footnotes of scientific history, a testament to how easily pseudoscience can take hold. Elevator starter. In the grand, bustling lobbies of early 20th century skyscrapers and department stores, before sophisticated dispatch systems took over, the elevator starter was the orchestrator of vertical transit. Imagine a crisply uniformed individual standing commandingly in front of a bank of elevators, barking orders, directing passengers, and coordinating the movements of the various elevator operators. Their job was to ensure efficient flow, prevent overcrowding, and manage traffic during peak hours, often communicating with operators via light signals or verbal commands. They were the traffic controllers of the building's vertical arteries, crucial for maintaining order and speed in an era when elevators were relatively new and still a novelty. This role required a commanding presence, excellent organizational skills, and a deep understanding of the building's layout and passenger needs. The advent of automated elevator systems, capable of sophisticated traffic management and self-dispatching, slowly but surely rendered the elevator starter obsolete. Their commanding presence, once a hallmark of urban efficiency, is now a distant echo in the silent, self-operating lifts of today. Keypunch Operator. Before the graphical user interface and the seamless integration of data entry, the Keypunch Operator was the human interface between raw information and the early computing machines. Imagine rows of individuals, often women, meticulously typing data onto punch cards using specialized key punch machines. Each character, each digit, was represented by a specific pattern of holes in a card. This was a critical and highly detailed job, requiring immense accuracy, speed, and an unwavering focus. These cards were then fed into enormous mainframe computers, forming the very foundation of data processing for businesses, governments, and scientific institutions. It was a world of tabulators, sorters, and the constant clatter of machines. The advent of interactive terminals, magnetic storage, and direct data entry methods in the latter half of the 20th century gradually made punch cards, and the operators who created them, obsolete. The Keypunch Operator, a silent hero of early information technology, left behind a legacy of neatly punched holes and the digital revolution they helped to enable. Telegraph Operator. Dots and dashes, a language of urgency and efficiency, once formed the backbone of long-distance communication, expertly translated by the telegraph operator. Imagine a small, often secluded office, the rhythmic click-clack of the telegraph key, and a skilled individual rapidly sending and receiving messages in Morse code. These operators were the human network, relaying vital information, news, business transactions, personal messages, and emergency alerts across vast distances, long before the telephone became widespread. It required a unique skill set, an acute ear, rapid keying, and the ability to maintain focus amidst the constant, sometimes chaotic, symphony of incoming and outgoing signals. They were the information superhighway of their day, connecting communities and bridging continents. The invention and widespread adoption of the telephone, and later the teletype and internet, gradually rendered the telegraph and its operators obsolete. The iconic sound of the telegraph key, a symbol of urgency and connection, faded into the historical background, leaving behind a rich legacy of communication innovation. Stock Clerk. For generations, the stock clerk was the meticulous guardian of inventory, the person who knew where everything was stored, retrieved it, and ensured shelves were stocked. Imagine bustling warehouses or back rooms of stores filled with towering shelves and a stock clerk diligently moving through the aisles, locating items, counting inventory, and preparing orders. This job required physical stamina, organizational skills, attention to detail, and often an encyclopedic knowledge of product locations. They were the unsung heroes of retail and logistics, ensuring that goods moved smoothly from storage to sale. However, the relentless march of automation in warehousing and logistics has dramatically reshaped this role. Robotic forklifts, automated guided vehicles, AGVs, conveyor belts, and sophisticated inventory management systems now perform many of the tasks once handled by humans. While human oversight and specialized roles in maintenance and management remain, the traditional, physically demanding role of the stock clerk has largely been automated away, transforming warehouses into landscapes of silent, efficient machines. Long-distance phone operator. Before direct dialing became the standard, making a long-distance phone call was a complex endeavor that required the assistance of a long-distance phone operator. Imagine speaking to an operator, giving them the city and number you wish to reach, and then patiently waiting as they manually connected you through a series of switchboards and trunk lines. This wasn't just about making a connection, it was an intricate dance of routing calls across vast geographical distances, often involving multiple operators. They handled everything from placing the call to calculating the charges. These operators were the invisible threads connecting families, businesses, and friends across states and even countries. The job demanded incredible precision, memory, and a calm demeanor. The advent of automated direct dialing, facilitated by increasingly sophisticated telecommunications technology, gradually eliminated the need for human intervention in long-distance calls. The comforting voice of the long-distance operator, once a familiar part of connecting across distances, became another casualty of technological progress, leaving behind a nostalgic hum in the wires. Radio repair technician. There was a time when the glow of a vacuum tube and the rich, warm sound of a home radio were prized possessions, and if that precious device went silent, you called upon the expertise of a radio repair technician. Imagine a specialist, armed with soldering irons, multimeters, and an intimate knowledge of complex circuitry, meticulously diagnosing and fixing intricate radio sets. This wasn't just a simple swap of parts. It was a skilled craft, requiring an understanding of electronics, a keen ear for static, and the ability to troubleshoot delicate components. These technicians kept families connected to news, music, and entertainment, breathing life back into silent speakers. The rapid advancements in electronics, particularly the transition from vacuum tubes to transistors and then integrated circuits, made radios more reliable, smaller, and significantly cheaper to replace than to repair. The era of disposable electronics, combined with the increasing complexity of modern devices, slowly but surely phased out the dedicated home radio repair technician. Their expertise, once vital, now largely exists in the realm of antique restoration, a testament to a time when things were built to be fixed, not just replaced. And there you have it, a whirlwind tour through 25 jobs that once shaped our world, fueled economies, and provided livelihoods, now largely relegated to the history books. From the meticulous hands of the pinsetter to the commanding presence of the elevator starter, each of these roles tells a fascinating story of human ingenuity, technological progress, and the relentless march of time. What strikes me most is not just the obsolescence of these jobs, but the unique skills and often profound human connections that define them. They remind us that the only constant is change, and that the future of work will undoubtedly hold its own surprises, making today's essential roles tomorrow's nostalgic memories. What job do you think is next on the chopping block? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating dives into the past, present, and future of our ever-evolving world.